Okay. All right. Come back, everybody. Oh, I see a few people. Awesome. Okay. Take two tonight. The world is against me. Oh, that's so painful. So, guys, let me know if you can hear any better this time. I should be on both DLive and YouTube. So hopefully you guys can let me know. Hopefully it worked. Okay, so we rebooted, and if this doesn't work here, what we're going to do next week is I'm going to stream from the gaming computer. The gaming computer should be super fast. Okay, I seem to be getting the thumbs up. Terry, thank you. thank you. And welcome back. Welcome back for the rant that I was already starting, but I hear it was broken up, so you guys missed the first part. But yeah, Tam, hello, Daniel. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. So in today's episode, I'm going to start over. I'm going to assume nobody heard anything from the previous thing, so I'm going to start all over again. So I missed last week's episode on YouTube. I only streamed on DLive for a very small amount of people. I have less followers on DLive, so it's okay. It was good. It was nice and intimate. And basically, YouTube has said that I provided medical misinformation. Now, I can't even say, I'm afraid to even say on here. Thanks, guys. You are all coming back. Thank you so much for coming back. Really appreciate it. Canada girl, welcome. So yeah, oh gosh, what was I talking about? See, I'm all frazzled. But yeah, so medical misinformation. So now on YouTube, when I stream on YouTube, I'm a little bit concerned about which words are triggering the AI on there to flag my video. So my video got flagged twice, and I got a strike. And I think if you get up to 5 strikes, you are done on YouTube. You're kicked off forever. So I'm at strike 1. So still okay. But we'll see. So medical misinformation was my strike. However, I did not provide any medical information at all. So there couldn't have been medical misinformation. It was about, the travel papers. It rhymes with the plasticine paper. I can't even say it. Damn you, AI. So anyways, it was about that. So if you didn't catch the band live stream, I redid a video. I recorded a 10-minute video that is the content of the live stream, and I put it out on Rumble and BitChute, and Odyssey already has a live stream, so I didn't need to re-upload it there. But anyways, if you're interested in hearing that one, the band video, go on the alternative media. Everything is under my name. It's all under Julie Mora, so it's super easy to find. Go find it there, and you can listen to it if you're interested. Hello, Faye. How are you? Okay, so today we're going to talk about the constantly moving goalpost, which is the situation we're in now. Specifically in Canada, I think the United States, certain states are also in that situation, but definitely in Ontario, where I am, we have the constantly moving goalpost of, now we're under 3rd lockdown, we're under no leaving your house orders, just complete tyranny at this point. And it's just unbelievable. Like people are, okay, let's just hang in there. It's just one more lockdown, but that's the attitude that is prevailing. It's always like, well, it's just one more. It's just one more. It's just a few more weeks. So, the 2-week turned into like a 52-week ban on getting outside. So next thing we'll know, we're going to be in our homes for 2 years. So anyways, we will see where this all leads. Oh, hello, Brett. Hi, how are you? Welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoy the rant tonight. And so anyway, so the goalposts that are constantly moving. So you guys know that I have been talking about the Jewish professor in the 30s and 40s who was in Nazi Germany. So we've been doing 1 year every episode. Tonight we are on episode 1943, which is probably the most epic moving of goalposts you can ever imagine when it comes to being a Jewish person in Nazi Germany. So you'll see. And it's very uncanny because a lot of the way they're behaving, the way the government, the Nazis and the Gestapo and the SS, the way they're all behaving towards the Jews with the constantly moving the goalpost is very, very similar and eerily similar to where we are headed right now. So we got to pay attention to how the government's getting away with this. We have to make sure we stop it. But before getting into that, you guys know I always start with some kind of a rant to start. So I did my rant about getting kicked off YouTube. So that's check the mark. Now my second rant is about something that's happening in a lot of workplaces. And I know a lot of you guys are going through this as well. But there's like a really big creeping encroachment of diversity and inclusion training all over. It's happening all over the place. And I wanted to cover that a little bit tonight. So we're going to talk about why it's happening so we can understand why it's happening. And as well, like how can people fight back when you don't want to do this stuff, right? How do you fight back? And I know it's not a very safe place to be in when you want to fight back. You're worried and I'm worried. But anyways, we're going to get into that. I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to cover that. So this whole thing, it started in academia. So the universities, they were the ones pumping out these crazy ideas. So we know that since the 60s, the communists, the Marxists, they've infiltrated much of the universities in Canada and in the United States. I myself went to a Canadian university in the 90s, and it wasn't quite as bad as it is today, but it was starting. So communist ideology seeping in, this whole idea of equity and all that stuff. And these people started graduating out of university and in academia. And I know because I was in academia and not just the lower levels, I went to the higher levels too. And I can tell you, when you're in that environment, you're not in the real world, right? You're kind of often, and especially if you're in those social sciences areas or philosophy or where you have like all day to kind of theorize about things, but you're not actually working. So you can just kind of make up all these crazy wild theories. So I think a lot of these people have been, like cooking up these crazy theories and they graduated with these weird degrees and like, I don't know, I heard somebody say like basket weaving, feminist basket weaving, right? Some crazy stuff like that. So when you graduate with a degree like that, you end up going out in the world with that ideology. And when a company, a private industry hires people like that, and especially when you're hired in a position of HR, like human resources, where you have power over other people, then that ideology goes from academia and it migrates slowly down into the private industry. And that is what we've been seeing for the last 15 years about. It's roughly 15 years. And it's been severely escalating in the last 2 or 3 years, I have noticed. So I've been in private business for, since 2002, right? So calculate how long that is. I don't even know. Since 2002, I've been working full-time. I never stopped except for when I had my mat leaves, which were about 9 months. And after that, I was back into the workforce. So I've always been in the workforce. And really the most important thing when I started was you have to be good at your job. You have to do the tasks. You have to show up on time. And you have to generally not be a complete asshole. Can I say that, YouTube? Will you kick me out again if I say that? Can I swear? As long as you're not a complete douchebag in your work environment and you show up, you do the minimum work, you're okay. The people who did extra work, who worked extra hard, they're the ones who ended up being promoted. Obviously, there's always nepotism everywhere you go. But for the general part, that's how I saw it. I myself went up in the various positions. I started really low and I would climb my way up into the corporate world. So not super high up now, but still I'm in a very good job. And I've noticed now that this kind of thing is seeping in. Now, I'm already bombarded fairly daily, I think daily, if not every other day. Let's say twice a week, just so I'm not being accused of exaggerating, but twice a week, I'll get an email in my inbox about something about diversity and inclusion. So it's like a chat board and somebody will post something. So it's coming to my inbox constantly. So I'm like, okay, you know what? That's fine. Not going to say anything. People have the right to say and think however they want. But in the last few weeks, I'm now being told I have to participate in the diversity and inclusion training. And I'm thinking, whoa, we've reached a point of no return now. And it's put me in a really terrible environment. Now, a lot of people are in that environment. They just don't realize it yet. But what happened at first when these diversity directors, I don't know what they're called in your industry, but let's just call them that, a diversity director. Once they started coming into the companies, their first mandates or whatever was, we need to make sure when we hire people, there's enough diversity. So now that they've had 5-6 years to establish the protocols around hiring, they're sitting there like, oh, well, we already have a hiring policy. We're already doing, 30% this color, 20% that color when we hire, like whatever, like blatantly racist applications they've actually mustered and managed to put in real life. That's done. So now they're in a situation where like, well, what do we do now? So the only other option they have left is to turn inwards towards the company. Who are the people working there? Now, obviously, there isn't much racist problems in the workforce because people are just generally busy working. You want to get through your day and you want to get the hell out of your job at the end of the day. So 5 o'clock, you're like, dude, I'm done. So in order to do that, generally, most people just work. Yes, there are racists in every company. There's racists everywhere in the world. There's hatred. There's awful bad things. There's evil. You're never going to eradicate that. But these diversity officers, diversity directors, whoever they are now saying all the people at the company must do it. And this is coming from their need to kind of self-preserve in their job, because what else are they going to do in the world if they're not that? And also it seems that with the more recent intimidation coming from like organizations like BLM, it seems to also suit what the upper management seems to want. They don't want to be accused of being a racist company. So they're like, they think, and they erroneously think, they falsely think that if they go for it, their company will be safe. They'll be safe from being accused of anything. But if anything, we know that's not true. This whole diversity and inclusion thing has a bigger goal, and it's way beyond like just eradicating racism and all that. It's got its origin in the Marxist theory. So we know that. We know. So now these people are inwards trying to tell me that I have to do a diversity training that is 4 months. It's a 4-month training. And I have to participate actively in this. And then I have to take the learnings and apply them in my meetings with people. So things like how to talk with diverse people, like just ridiculous things, just ridiculous. How to be culturally sensitive, but okay, if we go there, this is the danger. The danger is it will put everybody on edge. So you're basically creating a problem where there wasn't really a problem before. For the most part, people just want to do their job. And you're creating a problem because the underlying tone of being told you have to attend a diversity and inclusion training is that you're not accepting diversity and you're not accepting inclusion. You're not inclusive enough. That's the underlying message that is literally being broadcast to everybody. So they're doing that. And then they're saying, okay, we're going to indoctrinate you first, and then you're going to go and take it out into your meetings and apply it. So that's the indoctrination over here, and then the activism part that then ensues. And you're being asked to find ways to incorporate elements of that into your everyday work life. Now, it's going to backfire. Huge. They just don't realize it yet. But when it's going to backfire, the reason, first of all, it's going to backfire is because people will be on edge. So you're going to go to these diversity trainings and you're going to learn that if somebody sneezes and you say, bless you, well, that's a microaggression. So then you're like, oh, crap. Okay, so that I can't, somebody sees you don't say anything. It's going to put tension. And also like things like, assume my colleague is, I don't even know, like disabled, for example, I'm just pulling this out. But let's assume I have a colleague that is disabled. Now, this disabled colleague is now trained to think that I'm privileged and therefore they're not. But how do we know that it's putting tension between people? Now I've never had a problem with my disabled colleague until now. But now now I'm like, oh, frick, like diversity, inclusion. Oh my God, is this a microaggression? Am I allowed to, if I'm facing this way, will that offend someone? Like this, all these crazy things that are going to start going through people's minds is going to destroy the work environment. It's going to make it so that people will just want to go in, talk to nobody, do their job, and talk to the least amount during that time too. People will almost have scripted speeches. When you go into a team meeting, you'll almost have like a scripted speech with like keywords you can say or keywords you can't say, and you'll have to like constantly watch yourself. That's the kind of environment it will create. And from that, you will see stress leave, you'll see discomfort at work, you'll see people just leaving, just quitting. It's people don't understand the long-term ramifications of this, and that's what drives me crazy. How do you not see that? I don't know. Maybe I just have the ability to see it, but to me, it's actually super scary that this is coming. So how to handle this? This is a very tricky part, and I am not here to tell you guys what to do. This is how I'm planning on handling it. And even my husband and I were like, we don't know if it's the right thing to do, and we're really scared. But this is how I'm going to handle it. So I'm not going to put a big deal. I'm not going to do a big deal about it, but I just won't participate. Now, if I don't participate, there's two things that can happen. The first thing is I get put on a performance management plan, which means if I do anything after that, anything, the diversity training 2.0 comes along and I don't do that one, that could be strike two. I could be booted out and fired for insubordination, right? I was not a good little commie who listened and did everything my company said. So that could be one of the options, but the far more likely, which we expect, would be that I would get fired over that. And I actually think I will. But you know what, guys? I think to be true to myself, to be true to what I believe, to be true to what I advocate, which is the respect for all, freedom of speech. I'm a big Malcolm. What is his name? The guy who got shot. His name escapes me now. You're gonna be like, how is she a fan? She doesn't even know his name. I'm so nervous on these streams, guys. I don't think you can understand my brain. Like, short circuit. Not Malcolm X. Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King. Him I'm a huge fan of. And I absolutely believe when he said, you really have to treat the person as an individual. Don't care about the color of the skin, anything like that. Just treat the person as an individual. Evaluate them like that, judge them by that way, and then treat them like that. And that is truly what I believe. And I grew up in Canada, Montreal, and now Ontario. And I can honestly say that it is a very welcoming committee. It's a very welcoming country. The Committee of Canada. That's going to be our communist name. The Communist Committee of Canada. It's a very welcoming place. We're renowned worldwide for being that one of those few places in the world that has managed to actually achieve in real life true diversity, meaning that we really just get along, right? We haven't eradicated racism, but we've managed to create a society that, for the most part, people of every religion, creed, skin color, everybody's kind of here and we get along. So really, I find it infuriating. I find it offensive that now I've been a really good employee for my company, and now all of a sudden they come to me with the underlying tone that I'm not diverse enough, I'm not inclusive enough, and I need to be reprogrammed into this new retraining camp for 4 months in order for me to do my job, which I'm already doing. So anyways, it's going to be a complete crap show when this hits 2-3 years down the road. The ramifications will be huge. There's going to be a huge backlash and the pendulum will swing the other way. And I think we're going to go back to a more merit-based system, hopefully. But anyways, yes, Martin Luther King Jr. I know I told you my brain is effed when I'm on live stream. This is why I can't do debates, guys, because my brain will literally freeze and I'm like, what shirt am I wearing? Like, I literally won't know stuff, like just the stupidest things. So yeah. Anyways, so yeah, exactly. That's judge not a man by the color of the skin, but by the content of the character. That is exactly what I believe to the core. that is what my morality dictates me to do, and that's how I treat people. When I meet people, I don't look for skin color, ability, any of that. I look for, is this person likely to be evil or not? And that's all I care about. So yeah, and I think there's a lot of people who are like that in Canada, and I hope people won't just sit down and take this whole diversity training that's happening all over. So anyways, yeah, the die religion, the diversity, inclusion, and equity. Equity is the worst one of all, because that just means you're trying to make everybody equal, and that it's not equality of opportunity. Equity is equality of outcome, and that is the definition of communism right there. So anyways, okay, so now that my rant is over and I'm going to be a future ex-employee, hey, maybe I'll have time to do more live streams and get used to it and not be so nervous and debate somebody. We'll see. But anyways, guys, okay, so check this out. We are going to go back, the DeLorean that I talked about a few weeks ago, to 1943, and we are going to be talking about Victor. Anybody new to the channel, to the stream, this is week 7, 10 of this 12-part mini-series on Victor. Victor is a professor at the University of Dresden in the 1930s and 40s, and he also happens to be a Juicy. I got all excited here, and Kovitsky is starting to turn around. Gonna hypnotize you real good, people. Woo! Okay, so Victor, I love his diary. We've read already the first part. He is really good at making us understand the slow creep of everything. So that's what's been happening. And the moving goalpost that we're living through right now, he has similar experiences, and that is what we are going to cover today. So, hang on, I have my notes here. Okay, so if we start in 1943, so January, so Hitler gave that New Year's speech that year, and he's really pushing the idea, propaganda, that Germany will reach a clear and final victory. But the reality is, we know already by then that likely Germany is going to lose. Like pretty much the whole world knew by 1943, because of their battle against Russia and Soviet Union. They got screwed over in the snow and all that, and they couldn't advance. And anyways, Hitler doubled down and sent more people to die in the snow in Russia. So the Germans pretty much knew at that point, we're not going to win. The world knew Germany is not going to win. But yet Hitler, with his good old, harassing voice and intimidating character, just is like, yeah, we're going to have a clear final victory. So, and at that point, Victor just says, by 1943, if you're a Jew, you basically are not able to do anything. You have lost your ability to go anywhere, to do anything. You can't buy things. You can't own things. The things you already own have been taken away. You guys remember when they forced him to kill his cat? So 2 years ago, from 1943, 1941, they forced Victor to kill his cat. And because the cat was Jewish cat, and they forced him to do that. So anyways, at this point, if you're a Jew, you can't do anything. And again, think about it. If we go back to I can't say it on YouTube, plasticine, the plasticine last boards. Does that make sense? Will the AI pick up on that? If you go back to that and you think about the idea of having that and how it's going to create two categories of people who got the jabby jab jab, people who didn't get the jabby jab jab, what's going to happen is you have the two classes of people. And essentially in Germany, that's what they did. They divided the Germans and everybody else that was not German enough. Mostly Jews, but gypsies and disabled and blah, 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 whatever, a bunch of people that were in that category. So it was basically two categories of people. And if you want to be okay, you have to be in the Germanic category. In the other category, your life is pretty much in danger. So the Nazis are becoming ever more sadistic at this point. They're emboldened. They're proud of their ideology, and they're getting even more sadistic. So at this point, Victor tells us how he was summoned to appear in front of the mayor for discussion. but for discussion, and he doesn't know why. And at this point, you remember the camps are in full swing. So anytime you're asked by the Gestapo to go anywhere, then you think you're going to get sent to a camp. At this point in 1943, that's just what Jewish people thought. They're like, okay, if I get summoned to go anywhere, they're deporting me. So, and by the way, Gestapo, I was thinking about that today, because the Gestapo is like the Geheim Staatspolice, right? It's the secret police of Germany, Nazi Germany. And I was thinking, if we have the COVID secret police, then we could call them like the Gestapo, the Kostapo, right? That would be the COVID secret police. Take COVID ski. You have your army. You have the oh, I can't even say it. I have to write it down. Hold on, guys. Hold on. If we do Gestapo, see, I'm not good with this stuff. Gestapo, and it's the Kostapo. There we go. The Kostapo. Right, Kovitsky, you got your Gestapo now. See, COVID land. We got this, boys. We got this. Okay, so they've now summoned him to appear in front of the mayor. But what's really tricky about that is, in order for a Jewish person to be able to go anywhere, you need a permit. You need authorization by the Gestapo or the SS in order for you to move and show up somewhere. Because if you're caught walking in the street with no purpose, you're going to get arrested. So imagine being in that predicament. You're called to be, you're summoned to be somewhere. And you imagine if you can't get authorization to actually physically go there. What do you do? Like, and then what does that mean if you don't show up, right? It's such that's what he means when he says they're getting so sadistic with their rules. So anyways, so he's trying to get a travel permit to go to the community, to meet with the mayor. And anyways, it's very tough. He eventually gets it. He goes, and they just wanted to talk to him about something, like something he'd left in his garage. That's like, just imagine being that stressed out, like you're being pulled away for this, getting through all of the work of getting a permit so you can show up to be summoned, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, it's because you left that thing in your garage, and we're going to confiscate it from you. It's like, it's really insane. It's absolutely insane. So at this point, the Gestapo would they would take anything at all. One part of the book, in that chapter, he talks about how the Gestapo would come into the house that they're living in. It's what's called the Jews' house. And they're living there with multiple other Jewish families. And the Gestapo would just kind of walk into the common areas and like, yeah, I'll take this toaster, like literally. And of course, they already had nothing. So they had like one pot to cook potatoes. And they took that pot from him, and he's like, all I'm eating is potatoes at this point. Now I don't even have a pot to cook my potatoes in. And his wife, who's not a Jew, she's Aryan, she ended up negotiating with the Gestapo that they would bring back the potato warmer. And Victor's like, our potato cooker was like a piece of crap anyways. Like, why would the Gestapo just take it for any other reason but to be cruel to us, right? And it's true. It's what they did. So the Jewish people are sent to camps for absolutely anything at all. There was a teacher that was sent to a camp because he made incautious remarks. Can you imagine? That could be literally anything, but they're like, incautious remarks to the camp. So, but slowly the talk in Germany, as the months progress towards the spring, they're starting to hear from the war front, they're starting to hear about holding out instead of victory. So now the propaganda is even starting to crack. So you can see every time there's massive propaganda. So imagine the worst propaganda we've ever seen, some of the worst in Nazi Germany, finally now starting to crack. So it's good news. It's good news. It means the truth always ends up coming out in the end. Okay. So he has a buddy that works in the cemetery, and he went to him because he wanted to borrow a bag to carry more potatoes in. I'm telling you, like, all he eats is potatoes at this point. And he finds out that there's secret funerals happening at this point. Now, why would you want to have secret funerals at all? Well, it's because the Jewish people that were arrested in the street, some of them who weren't sent to camps, they were still beaten up in jail, and they were returned home dead. but they didn't want people in the village to know. So they would order this Jewish guy in the cemetery to do these secret burials. So there's that too. That's not an aspect that we hear about a lot in history books, the secret burials. And this has got to be, it had to have been happening all over Germany, all over the German held countries as well, the German occupied countries. This kind of stuff has got to have happened. And then by February 1943, because you have to remember the Jewish don't have radios, they don't have communications, they're not allowed to read newspapers. By 1943, February, they now understand if you're sent to Poland, you never come back. And Poland has a lot of the death camps. So Treblinka, I'm pretty sure, is in Poland. Don't quote me on that. Somebody put that in the chat. Did I get that wrong? Is Treblinka in Poland? But Auschwitz is for sure in Poland. So they knew if they were put on a train and they left for Poland, that was it for them. So this is another example of the goalpost moving. So there's a class of what they call privileged Jews. The privileged Jews are Jews that are married to a non-Jewish person, and they're considered privileged because they're not being killed. That's the privilege they have. That when the Jews have privilege, it's the privilege of not being killed, and that's the kind of privilege they have. So in February, all other Jews that were not considered a privileged Jew were ordered sent to camp. All of them. So that's across all the German occupied states, as well as within Germany itself. So in 1943, you were deported. Now, the privileged Jews that are left behind, that's the class of people that the goalpost will keep moving. And we'll see how they do that. It's just insane. Yeah, Mike. Stalin was freaking evil. Yeah, I agree. Stalin was worse. He had longer, right? He had longer time to do all of his crap than Hitler did. So, but they're both pretty awful. I know a lot of people, because I do these live streams right now on this guy who's a Jew in Germany. A lot of people seem to think, oh, but she's not talking about communism and Stalin and all the stuff he did. She's not talking about Chairman Mao, about all the things he did. What about Pol Pot in Cambodia? Look, I hate them all. All of them. They're horrific human beings, demons on earth, and I really despise them all. So I just happen to focus on Germany right now because I find through Victor's work, it's really easy for us to associate and understand what's been going on. And it makes it much easier for us to understand when our government does this moving the goalpost on us. It actually makes it easier for us to understand because we have a precedent. We understand. It's not just in a history book about the war and the battles and all that. This is a real guy who lived through this. Okay, so they're starting to hear the rumors that Jews are gassed in trucks, right, on their way to camps, and that's true. The final solution, I think, happened in 1943. This is the big push in the gas chambers, but before that, the first wave of gassing was done in little vans that people were just put in a van, shut the door, and put the Zyklon B on top. Then they figured out they could do it more mass scale. March 2nd, there was another order that was issued, and it's anyone who passes something on to Jews awaiting evacuation will be shot by the police, right? So if you're trying to... So if you're a Jewish person and you're trying to pass something that you have to somebody else and that person accepts it, they'll be shot. If you're trying to give something to them, like, for example, a piece of bread, because they're going to be on that train for a while, they don't really know where they're going or what they're doing. But if you give them something to help them, or if they're all at the train station and they're all like their hands are clambering out of the train and you pass them a goblet of water, you're going to be shot on the spot by the police. That is the order. So there is no exchange either ways. If you are caught helping a Jew in any way, you are shot by the police. So that's the kind of war environment they lived in. Absolutely disgusting. And by April, he's one of only 31,000 Jews left in Germany. So that is just crazy. So he watches the Gestapo come every day and take. So all the Jews that were rounded up and sent to the camps. He watches the Gestapo come in and help themselves to whatever the Jews left behind. In April 19th, he actually has new work. So he now he fills in tea, little tea bags. He fills them in at a company called Schluter's, in case you're interested. He finds the job really boring, but he actually ends up liking the people. And he actually says that within there really isn't much anti-Semitism, and that's really hopeful in a way, because it means the people haven't been fully brainwashed, right? People don't want that kind of a Germany. Even in Germany, they're not super happy with the Nazis for the most part. A lot of people are opposing it, and they're just too afraid of the Gestapo to speak up. And you can understand why. If you're caught helping a Jew, you get shot. So of course you're gonna, right? And that's where I'm thinking, okay, just to go back to the diversity training that I'm gonna have to do, that I'm not gonna do. If all it is that I'm paying for is the loss of my job, I have to view it in context, in this bigger context. That's the price that I'm gonna have to be willing to pay to lose my job in order to stand by what I believe in. Because I look at all these other people, a lot of people ended up losing their life before. And so my situation, not as bad, not as bad as these guys. Okay, so the Nazis, they're also trying to blame Bolshevism for everything at this point. They're starting to go on this campaign about how the Bolshevism is destroying the intellect, castrates the individual, reduces philosophers and scholars to mechanical specialists. Everyone under Bolshevism takes on the gray color of mass society. So this is a quote directly from Victor's book. And it's funny, and he even says this himself. He's okay, I'm going to continue the quote. He says, "There is no demand for knowledge, skill, hard work, or creativity beyond what is needed for the success of the Soviet dictatorship." So the Soviet man is truly the annulment of what constitutes human right and dignity. And Victor's like, whoa, hold up, Nazis. You're all accusing the Soviets of Bolshevism and reducing the man to what is needed for society. And he's like, what do you all think the Nazis are doing? So it's so true. The Nazis are literally doing the same thing the Bolsheviks are doing. And this is where I know I've had a lot of debates with people in the chat about this before, but this is why I think Nazism is, in fact, a branch of communism. It is a derivative of communism. A lot of people think Nazis are far right. It's false. I've studied a lot of history, and yeah, there's a little intruder in the back end there. who's waving. That's my son, who has a hidden face, because I told him, if you come and do this in the live stream, we can't see your face, baby. Do you want to say something?
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Super productive conversation right there with a 6-year-old. All right, baby. See you later. Bye. Okay, so yeah, the far right, the Nazis are thought to be far right, but they're not. When you look at their actual policies, when you look at their actual behavior and their actual end goals, Nazism is a branch of communism. Hitler didn't want you to think that, because he didn't want to admit that he stole ideas from a Jew who started communism, right? So he didn't like that Karl Marx was a Jew. So he did a very big effort to make sure that Nazism was completely differentiated from communism, but yet it's called the National Socialist Party, the National Socialist Workers' Party. In itself, that is a communist name right there. So anyways, okay, I know people have different opinions on that. But yeah, Nazism, in my opinion, this is my opinion, guys, you can fight me on that if you want, no problem. But in my opinion, Nazism and communism is the same ideology. Okay. So this is what he says, Victor says about Nazism. He says Nazism feigns individuality, but it's where the Bolsheviks are more of an outright group, the collective one, right? So, anyways, okay. Again, he goes back to, despite hearing all of this anti-Jewish propaganda around him, Victor keeps saying in 1943 that his heart is warmed up by the fact that he still hears good things around him. He's not attacked personally by other people. He's not spat upon. Like, people are still treating him really well, like he's a German, not like he's a Jew. And he sees a lot of good individuals around him, and that gives him a lot of hope. Now, on May 6th, this is another goalpost move. As a result of an inspection by the Gestapo the day before, all Jewish workers must wear an armband as well as a star. So, in pictures, in movies, sometimes you'll see the Jewish people wear the star and the armband, or just the armband, or just the star. It's because of, in factories, and I think there was another part, like train stations, something like that, where they made the armband mandatory, so you had to wear both. And this is so that if you're in a factory working like this and they can't see your star, they'll see your armband, right? So that's when the Gestapo walks into a factory, they can know immediately who's a Jew and who's not. So that was the reason they did that. And it's, again, yet another. So it's like, at first, okay, no, you just have to wear the star. If you're a Jewish person, you just have to wear the star. And it's like, oh, wait, the star and the armband. It's like, okay, guys, you just have to stay home for 2 weeks. Okay, we're gonna flatten the curve. Oh, wait. 6 months later, we're still staying home. That's the kind of goalpost move that we're seeing in our time. He saw a different one than we do, different circumstance, but the same government interference in your life. Okay. And again, the social distancing that we have right now, right? I don't know when that's going to go away, but okay. Another goalpost move. Woo! So many in 1943, guys. They're forcing now mixed races to wear the star. So it used to be, if you're Jewish, you have to wear the star. But now if you're like half black, half Jewish, well, the Jewish part of you makes you wear the star. You have to wear the star. So that didn't used to be, but now it's, so you can see how it's all these small decrees in itself. But when you take all of them in one go, when you look at all the decrees, you're like, oh God, like they're really intensifying this very fast. June 17th, the political speech is forbidden. So they now have a new job. If you're in Nazi Germany, you could be a charge man. And what is a charge man? Well, they're in charge of kind of standing there, and they have to find out if you're speaking anything political. So at this point, the Nazis are completely losing the war, and they don't want you to know about it or even talk about it. So if you say anything political, anything about the war, anything about the Nazis, at this point, the charge man will report you. If the charge man fails to report you, the same punishment will be applied to the charge man. So if the Gestapo learns of any political conversations, the guilty parties, and that the guilty party isn't discovered. So assume there's a group of guys hanging out at the lunchroom in the factory, and somebody says, I think they're talking about political something. And the Gestapo's like, who did it? Who's talking? And nobody says anything. What they're going to do is they're going to imprison the whole group. So this is extreme, and it allows you to basically, the nefarious people of our society, the bad ones, are really going to be able to go in and say, hey, I don't like my neighbor, so I think I overheard him talking about politics. But it also makes it so that even if you yourself haven't done anything wrong, but you're under the threat of imprisonment, you may give up somebody just because you're so panicked about it. You could just see the decay of society. That's what worries me about where our situation is headed right now. Because if right now we have people telling on their neighbors if they have too many people over, that's the same kind of thing. That's exactly what is happening here. And you could be imprisoned if you have your friends over at your house during the stay-at-home orders. So Doug Ford is already talking like a dictator. He's already saying, yo, I'll do whatever I need to do. Like almost like a mafia type thug. I'll do what I need to do. I'll do it. I'll do it. It's like, Doug, you're an elected official. You're not a dictator, dude. Anyway, somebody will need to tell him that. 1943 in July. This is a different kind of goalpost that's moving, but it used to be that only men of a certain age were recruited for the army. But a lot of the men got killed, and they're starting to run out of men for the army. So now they're going after teenagers. They're starting to recruit teenagers. Let me just drink here. Whew, okay. I know Rage is going to start a stream soon, so I'm going to lose a bunch of you all are going to go on Rage's stream. Okay, I'm wrapping this up soon, guys. But in 1943, in July 11th, there are 2 new Jewish laws. So Jewish property of mixed marriages falls to the state if the person dies. So if you're married to a Jewish person, you would not get his stuff when he dies. The state would get it, right? So the inheritance laws essentially. And this is a very scary one. German laws no longer apply to Jewish people. So can you imagine? That means now you're pretty much left on your own. You have no recourse for anything. Nothing at all. You have no defense. You have no lawyers. You have nothing. You're basically completely left out of society, completely cut out. So I don't even know how you can operate in society like that, where you have no sets of laws. Only the Gestapo law now applies to you, which is scary. That's the ultimate in goalpost moving. So the people who knew about Victor writing this diary that we fortunately got, people are now starting to beg him to stop writing, because his wife was bringing the parts that he had written and hiding them in another German's home. But they were too afraid that as he was writing it, if the Gestapo came in at that point and saw what he was doing, they would actually arrest him. Obviously, they were afraid of that. He got summoned again in front of the Gestapo in August and got another 5-minute interrogation about furniture he had in storage. And then he got released. And by the end of August, he's starting to notice that even the younger Gestapo team members, the younger SS that are coming around now, are starting to be kind of nicer to Jews at this point. They think that as they realize they're losing the war, there's going to be international ramifications for what the Nazis did. So these are the people who were able to foresee. And some of these Nazis are now starting to behave a little bit more humanely towards Jewish people because they're starting to get scared themselves. Nazis can only be good and rewarded if they're within the Nazi environment. Outside of that environment, they are going to be imprisoned themselves for what they've done. And we know that because the Nuremberg trials happened. There was multiple Jews that were arrested for trying to conceal their star on their jackets. There's also another decree in 1943 that all Jews need to be sent to the Jewish hospital in Berlin. So no matter where you are in Germany, the only hospital you can go to as a Jewish person is the Berlin hospital. And his wife, Ava, was admitted to hospital in their city because she was German Aryan, right? So she was admitted there and she stayed there for 10 days, but Victor could not enter the hospital as a Jewish person. So think about the jabby jab jab. Hopefully the AI doesn't pick up on that. But if you have the jab, the jabby jab jab jab, and you're allowed to go into the clinics and the hospitals, but you don't get it, are you going to be able to go into these places, right? These are all super important questions, defining questions. Okay, so 10 days she's in hospital. He can't go see her. And then in December, so in the cold, bitter cold of German North Germany, he is now told he has to move for a third time into a new Jewish house. So every time they move the Jews to a new Jewish house, it's a smaller accommodation. So smaller, colder, more cramped. So that's what's happening. And so December 17th, he ends up moving. He says that they hear about the destruction of an entire city that happened in 26 minutes, that it took I think it's the English bombers, so the UK, their bombers destroyed Leipzig in 26 minutes. So that's it for 1943. We can see they're constantly moving the goalpost, constantly changing the rules every day. You don't know what's coming. You can't plan. You can't prepare. You can't do anything. So that's what's been going on in that year. Hopefully, you will join me next week for the 1944 year, which is, we're almost there. We got 2 more years to go in this entire series, guys, and we've spent a lot of time talking about this. So, and hopefully it helps you understand what happens when government gets too much power, but through a easy to understand way. Like, that's how I understand things way better through somebody telling me like this than through an actual history book. So, so hopefully you join me next week when we talk about that. And so since I was kicked off YouTube and I'm too afraid now to do, not kicked off permanently, just for a week, but I'm too afraid to talk about certain things on YouTube. I will start doing some DLive only streams when I talk about things that are more, non-YouTube friendly. So anyways, that's what I'm going to do. So hopefully you can join me next time, next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. live stream. Surprise. I don't know when I'm going to do that on DLive. So hopefully you follow me on there and we'll be able to join. But have a good one, guys. Thank you so much for staying here. Go and enjoy Rage's stream, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.